Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be talking about Nalsa, victim of trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation scheme. The background says, under Section 4 of the Legal Services Authorities Act, the central authority, that is NALSA, has been obligated to frame the most effective and equitable schemes for the purpose of making legal services available under the provisions of the Act. The preamble underscores that the legal service authorities are concerned with a weaker section of the society and imposes a duty on them to ensure that opportunities for securing justice are not denied to any citizen by reason of economic or other disabilities. There can be no doubt that victims of commercial sexual exploitation, whether trafficked or voluntary, or sex workers are by far a highly marginalized group. Their rights are forgotten, their conditions of life and living are not anybody's concerns. What happened to them and their children interests no one, yet they are all entitled to benefits of the various schemes of the government. In the case filed by Prajwala being writ petition number 56 of 2004, the NALSA has given the report in the Supreme Court to take the following actions in respect of victims of commercial and sexual exploitation and sex workers. The role of the authorities as set out in the preliminary report is reiterated as follows. Provide legal assistance to the victims of trafficking and sexual exploitation at the time of rescue and thereafter during trial. Facilitate the accessing of the District Legal Service Authority for award of victim compensation under Section 357A CRPC. To monitor and act as social auditors of the existing facilities available for rehabilitation of rescued victims of sexual exploitation and trafficking. DLSAs can spread awareness in the community through the panel lawyers and paralegal volunteers. The DLSA can act as converging nodes to ensure that the government schemes meant for the marginalized actually reach them. As such, access to the government support does have a positive impact in prevent training and falling prey to the traffickers. Initiate steps to sensitize the corporate world to support rehabilitation measures for trafficked victims, including skill building and employment under the head of CSSR. SLAs can also assist in the training and sensitization of stakeholders like police, lawyers, including legal services lawyers, prosecutors, government servants, and the judiciary. SLSAs may also collaborate with the local educational institutions and civil society organizations and NGOs working in this field. The objective is to provide legal service to address the concerns of victims of trafficking, including women of all age groups and at every stage, that is prevention, rescue and rehabilitation. The thrust is to provide economic and social pathways for these marginalized groups. Then we talk about the strategy for legal services to the victims, which includes a 360-degree guided approach. This includes children, young adults of whatever sex, adolescent girls, young women, and older women should be included in the action plan. To develop an action plan for prevention, rescue, and rehabilitation, and not merely for one of these aspects, to follow up at least for 3 years so that the reintegration of the victim into the society is complete. Enabling trafficked women to get their entitlements by completing all due diligence processes. Use existing welfare schemes of the government, both central as well as the state, to strengthen social security, social development, and welfare in order to cover prevention of trafficking and rehabilitation of the victims. DLSA can request NGOs, CBOs to use tools such as microplanning and surveys to ascertain the demand for schemes and thereafter set up help desks across the district to facilitate registration for the schemes. Simultaneously, the victims' community members could be motivated and educated about how to apply for schemes they wish to enroll or register for. The DLSA, with the support of the concerned department, could facilitate the applicant to fulfill the procedures stipulated under each scheme and comply with all the due diligence processes. This would include enabling the applicant to get the supportive documents that are required to be furnished in order to establish eligibility for the benefits under the scheme, such as getting proof of residence, age certificate, nativity certificate, income certificate, etc. The DLSA should provide support to the community till the scheme gets delivered or the benefit reaches the beneficiary. The available schemes, the ICTS or Child Care Development, 0 to 6 years, pregnant women and lactating mothers as caregivers, food security or ration cards, social security or pension for the elderly women, educational schemes including midday meal, bridge schools, residential schools of Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, Sabla, scholarships for the primary, secondary, and higher education from Social Welfare Department for adolescents and specially abled girls, livelihood, skill development, financial inclusion, micro enterprise from SC, ST, BC, Minority and Women's Development Corporation, and CSR funds from government and public sector undertakings, housing or subsidy for construction and land pattas from urban development housing corporations, universal entitlements, Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, voter card, SHG membership, legal aid schemes, legal literacy, paralegal volunteers, legal service clinics to ensure free legal aid and protection. Role of DLSA and SLSA to maintain convergence oversight, bridging the gaps between all the departments and trafficked women, women in sex work and those vulnerable to trafficking and extreme violence, enhancing engagements, scheme education drive organized by DLSA, bringing together community organization and its members and government department, district and sub-district administration, facilitating participation and ownership led by DLSA in collaboration with community organization through community meetings and camps, sensitization, enabling all departments and institutions to learn about dynamics of community, remove misconceptions, strengthening accountability through an MIS capturing all processes from identifying entitlement holder to scheme delivery, forging partnerships at the more micro level. The collaboration will be with community organizations and NGOs working with sex workers and victims of trafficking and sexual exploitation. At the meso level, the partnership should be with and between the district administrative mechanisms such as Department of Women and Child Development, especially Child Protection, Welfare Committees and Anti-Human Trafficking Units and the DLSA. The third level of partnership will be at the macro level with the Department of Women and Child Development, which implements many schemes for victims of trafficking and also runs shelter homes for those rescued. Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, and Rural Livelihood Mission, which also the mandate of prevention of human trafficking and will be vital partner to strengthen protection and safety nets to the beneficiaries. Next is the action plan. The first step that the DLSA or SLSA should take is to reach out to the non-government organizations and community-based organizations in the field. To do this, the SLSA and DLSAs must contact the state agencies such as Department of Women and Child Development, Rural Livelihood Missions. They also must seek the assistance of NACO and CSACs and DACS. The second step would be to catalyze interdepartmental convergence both at the state and further down to the district level. As regards trafficking from the anti-human trafficking units in the state and with the help of NGOs and CBOs, the DLSA should map out the vulnerable areas and the vulnerable populations within its jurisdiction. Then preventive strategies can be put into motion. The SLSAs, DLSAs should create a team of panel lawyers and social workers to spread awareness about the welfare schemes of the government. The PLVs should be used to ensure that all the due diligence processes, including eligibility documents and proofs, are collected to enable the vulnerable communities to access the various schemes. The PLVs attached to or assigned to a police station in compliance of the orders of the Honorable Supreme Court of India to handle cases of missing children should be given special training by the SLSs, DLSs to sensitize them on children's issue as well as trafficking issues so that they are responsive. These PLVs must inform the SLSs, DLSs whenever such a case of trafficking is reported or arrest of a sex worker occurs at the police station. Regarding sex workers, to organize meetings between the member secretary SLSA or full-time secretary DLSA and the community leaders where the community leaders can explain the difficulties they face in accessing social entitlements, especially the social security schemes such as widow and old age pension scheme, even though they fall under the eligible category. The other method is to organize public hearings where community members would depose or in other words relate their experience with governance at all levels. After the deposition to the community about the legal services available in the legal services authority and encourage them to file complaints and seek free legal aid whenever their rights are infringed or they have a legal problem with the inheritance, etc. The legal service authority can enable the target groups to redress the violence and harassment they face in their day-to-day life. In cases of violence from partners or husbands, the DLSA along with protection officers can provide legal aid and counseling services. The DLSAs can accredit paralegal volunteers drawn from the community and train them as per the NALSA module. These PLVs can then act as the frontline workers of the authority as far as the community is concerned. Once again, the DLSAs should assess the need for schemes in the community and facilitate the access of the community to the various welfare schemes of the government in the manner as mentioned here and before. Next comes the prevention. SLSAs and DLSAs should pay attention to the structure already available under the Integrated Child Protection Scheme, particularly setting up of village level child protection committee. Special awareness program should be organized for the people to keep a watch on the children in the village. The teachers should be sensitized to keep a watch for children missing from school and report them so that further inquiries about their well-being are promptly made. A similar awareness and sensitization program may be organized for Anganwadi and health workers. Again, the SLSAs and DLSAs must ensure the children remaining absent at follow up and reported immediately. The PLVs drawn from the village level child protection committee and Anganwadi should be trained with special emphasis on issues of trafficking and sexual exploitation. Students' legal literacy clubs should be encouraged to write about and talk and discuss about trafficking issues. The SLSs, DLSs should strengthen groups who are working to prevent child marriages and empowerment of women. The SLSs, DLSs should focus on the livelihood alternatives to help these women come out of the profession and prevent their children entering it. Women could be encouraged to save money and channelize the money into entrepreneurship, which would ensure their social recognition and assimilation. The SLSs, DLSs should help the women to protect themselves from domestic violence and provide legal assistance to follow up court cases. Strategies of prevention and protection of victims of trafficking implemented by the Rural Livelihood Mission should also be understood and explored so as to replicate some of the successful methods and establish collaborative efforts. Rescue and rehabilitation. The protocol for the One Stop Crisis Center would be no doubt available for the rescued victims of trafficking. The DRSA should ensure that panel lawyers and PLVs help the victim to get their FIR registered and be present during the remand proceedings to oppose bail. The panel lawyers should obtain court orders for protection of witnesses wherever necessary and to counsel the victim before the deposition and be present during trial, including recording the statement of the victim. The panel lawyers and PLVs are also supposed to help the victims to get the compensation under the victim compensation scheme. Transgenders. The provision of the scheme will be applicable to transgenders as well. Management Information System. The SLSA and DLSA will have to develop a sound MIS so that every activity under the scheme is recorded, followed up, and assessed. Similarly, the assistance of the PLVs and panel lawyers given to the victim will have to be recorded and monitored closely by the Secretary DLSA. Where the DLSA has facilitated the rehabilitation, there must be tracking for the person for at least 3 years. Thank you so much.